in the Great Depression, we didn't have anything. We couldn't go to town and buy anything. Didn't have any money. But the stuff that you had left over from better days, you were still trying to wear. But and we got lucky with our neighbor on our farm. A woman had a little house, a little shack, but their house burned down in the back of our farm, which theirs was on a side road, ours was on the main road. And when their house burned down, they just came on our farm and built a house, which was not that big, but it was their home. In those days, things were different. Here, if you step on a guy's property, they want to sue you. Well, she came out there and built a house. And we used to spend a lot of time there. Her name was Martha LaValle. They owned 180 acres behind us, but they didn't work it. They were already real old. But she was into making mittens and stockings and sweaters and stuff like that, caps, whatever. And so we'd go, she had a spinning wheel, and she'd buy maybe 25 pounds of wool in a bag, and then she'd take it, and they call it card it, where they get all of they'd make it smooth, and they'd get all the briars out of it, and burrs or anything else. She'd wash it, and then do the carding, and then she'd make them big long rolls, and so that was what would go on the spindle of the spinning wheel. And then she would make a whole lot of wool. She could blend them together just by putting another piece on and twisting it, another piece of wool, and they were long rolls, maybe 3 or 4 feet long by the time she made them, roll them up. And so then she'd dye them in berry juice, blackberries and raspberries or anything that they could find in the woods, but it was better than just having all plain wool looking. And then she'd dye some of it, and she'd put little stripes around your socks or your hat or your mittens. And but she'd spin that spinning, but she'd have us playing with the spinning wheel too, because it was hard work, and we kind of knew how to use it. We were kind of about 10 years old by that time, so we helped her make the stuff, and she made our stuff. But my mother would pay her probably $1.50. I'm thinking $1.50 for the pair of socks, but I can't really remember. But she had a little shack, and that's where they papered it with newspapers, because you could get newspapers. There was big packages of newspapers when you'd buy a paper, so they were very valuable. So she'd make make the paste out of flour and water, put some salt in there, and then she had a big brush, and she'd brush the solution on and stick them on the wall. And every time it got dirty from having the fire in there all the time, they'd do it. And every time they put another coat of papers on the wall, it insulated the shack more. So it was quite a thing. They never had lights in there. So what they did is that they'd build in the winter time, they'd want to not quite go to bed as early as it got dark. So they'd feed their fire by long pieces. They were old and couldn't cut the wood up. And so they put a chair in front of the cook stove and kept feeding the wood in, and then the light from the fire, because the door was open, they could see something. So that's a part of the chicken coop and their place. But quite today, what if somebody came out and built a house on your farm? You can walk on it, they want to shoot you. So it's a different world there.
Mm-hmm.